This is step 7 of the 14 steps found in The Art of Storytelling. This step is called Story Within a Story. Now, again, this is not necessarily something that you'll use with every story. It's just an exercise. It gives you a chance to see if possibly something else would fit in with the story. Some modern event or something personal could fit in your story easily. Matter of fact, in this series, all 6 of the storytellers thought of a story within a story, but very few of them ended up using it. Doesn't matter. It's just an exercise. So watch them go through this step. And then you think of a story that can fit inside your story. Whether you use it or not after this doesn't matter. It's a good exercise. Enjoy step 7.
The mother crab noticed that her son was walking sideways. And she thought, that can't be right. And so she said to her son, "Oh, son of mine, you shouldn't walk sideways like that. You should always walk in a straight line with your toes pointed out." Well, that little boy crab, he wanted to please his mother, and he wasn't sure that he could walk in a straight line. So he said to his mother, he said, Mother of mine, please show me how to do it. I'd really like to learn." You know, when my son was learning how to drive, I was actually driving him to one of his lessons when I made some minor mistake. Maybe I don't remember what it was, but maybe I didn't come to a full stop at a stop sign, and made my right-hand turn without stopping completely. And he called me on it, and I said, "Hey, don't do as I do as I say." Well, Mother Crab, she tried. She really tried to walk straight forward to show her son how he should be walking, but she couldn't do it either. She could only walk to the side.
Maybe bringing up something that would be along the idea of when I was in a meeting or had an idea or came up with something, or when one of my children came up with an idea. I'm trying to think of one right now, but the one thing I did pop in my mind is something like this. The cat was the problem, and all the mice met together. They all came, the old, the young, the mothers, the fathers, the grandfathers, and they came together for a very important meeting. I know how that is. I can remember my first church business meeting. I was never allowed to go to a church business meeting, at least in our church, but I remember the time when I finally got to go to that, and there I was, kind of like the young mouse in the story who came to this meeting knowing that he shouldn't say a lot, but he just sat there and listened.
He's zipping through there and sees this massive bull. Doesn't scare that teeny little gnat any. He's looking for a place to rest, and so he stops right there on the horns of the bull. He's all puffed up and looking around like he thinks he's big stuff. It's time to leave. He's rested up. He's going to come around and kind of apologize to that bull for bothering him. Now that gnat, he's a pompous little creature. Kind of ashamed to admit, it kind of reminds me of myself sometimes. There have been situations where I've just thought, well, look at me. You know, I'm this professional person. I'm out giving these workshops, and pretty soon somebody comes along. There's always somebody better, kind of puts you in your place, kind of settles you down. And that's what happened to that gnat, too. He came buzzing right up in that bull's face, and he said, "Well, I'm leaving now. I guess it's going to be a good relief to you because I've bound to been a heavy weight up there on that horn."
Now this kind of reminds me of a story within a story. Once there was this dog, a very hungry dog, and he came upon the butcher. Now the butcher was getting rid of a lot of scraps and bits, but sitting there right on that tray was a great big old juicy bone. Now you and I know that if you go to the market and you want to make yourself some good soup, you get yourself a big old soup bone like that. They cost a lot of money, and the butcher knew that. But when he looked over to that dog and he saw how hungry he looked, why, he just took that bone and he just threw it right out to that dog.
There once was a miser, and he would hear the clippity-clop every morning of the wagons as they came into town. And that was a sign for him to get up and do the most important thing of the day. And that would be to count his gold. He'd buried his gold out under a tree, for it seemed to him to be the safest place. Of course, if he kept his gold in the house could easily burn down with the open fireplace, and the gold would melt. Put it in the bank. He'd heard too many of those stories about the scoundrels at the bank. So he kept his gold in a tin box out under the tree to keep it safe.
Mark and Michael were overcome by their grief. It was stunning to think that they would have to go on with life, let alone the farm, without their father. And the only thing they could think to do was to just get up the next day and go out to do the work in the field. I remember when I heard that my mother died. It was a stunning thing to learn. And I was away from home when I got the news by phone, and I went home that night, and all I could think to do was clean my house. And through cleaning, dusting, sorting, vacuuming, late into the night, this kept my mind going, and a healing began of kind of distracting me a little bit from the grief that I had. And so I think that in a way the sons may have done that, going out into the field, working each day to just get through the next day and get through the next hours.